you know that blindly mailing your CVs to multiple job ads is the number one reason people fail to land jobs? In fact, it could annoy the recruiter so much, they might even end up blacklisting you. Instead, be focused. Only target jobs you have a good chance at landing interviews with. Learn this and many other powerful tips with our Land Your Dream Job program. It's an online course that includes a comprehensive toolkit consisting of CV templates, resume checklists, and many other useful tools. The best part about this program is a 3-month email guide that will help keep you on track as you look for your next role. Indeed, your dream job is waiting for you. Click this link now.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Singapore. Welcome to the Career Success Show with Adrian and Super Coach Yen.
Good morning, everyone. TGIF.
Yes, and today...
And happy April. Holy cow, where did March go?
Yeah, by the way, it's April Fool's Day today.
Oh, it's April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Happy April Fool's Day.
So,
please don't play any prank.
yes, so anyway, the first quarter is over and today is April Fool's Day. Let's see, we were thinking of putting some prank over here, but we decided not to in case we got cancelled. So
No. I don't like pranks.
But anyway, today is a really good day. And thank you for those of you who just joined us. My name is Adrian Chu. I'm the CEO, founder of Career Agility International. And together with me is Super Coach Yen, who is our Executive Director, at Singapore's top career strategist / coach. And yes, and today we have an interesting topic, which is why aren't some people clearing the final interview? You run all the way to the end, everything looks so nice, you look like the darling of the crowd, and then suddenly it's like, we regret to inform you that...
Yeah, or they ghost.
Or
you get to, at some point, down the advanced stages, and then suddenly there's crickets.
Yeah, crickets.
And you don't know what happened. We've got a lot of clients who have been asking us what to do. So that's why we decided to do this topic today.
Yeah. But before we begin, bottom line also is that if you get ghosted, it's never a good sign.
Yeah. Just move on, right?
Just move on.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes, correct. Okay, so we'll have another topic. If you're keen on wanting to learn a bit more about that, maybe the next topic we can do is what to do when you get ghosted. And the answer is ghost them back.
Nothing much you can do.
Nothing much you can do, right? So, and we're going to talk about that today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions into the comments section. We will try to answer them. We will also try to answer other questions if they are not related to interviews. If you have them, just drop them into the comments box. Okay. And one of the interesting things today we're going to talk about is, besides the interview process, is basically today's headline news. Yeah, so we are talking about this thing yesterday on the radio when I was on the 91 FM, a big show with Ken and Fine Dutchman and the gang. And we're talking about workplace violence and abuse.
And then it evolved into something else. It was like bullying and microaggression, and there were so many other topics.
Yeah, but if you think about it, okay, what the elephant in the room that was being missed was, you are an actor and you are at Academy Awards, a night. Okay, it's a working night, and basically he is a colleague who's come up to slap you because he doesn't appreciate one of your jokes, off color as it may be. Okay, and technically speaking, that counts for workplace violence.
It is workplace violence,
isn't it?
Yeah, and we don't have too many of those situations here.
Hang
on, there was a couple of years back. There was a lady boss who was hitting a male sort of subordinate, and he was sitting, and I think she was sort of hitting him on the head or something, and somebody filmed it or recorded it,
wow.
and it went online. And that I don't know what happened with that story. But yes.
I think it happens. Maybe it's
Yeah.
reported or not. But the biggest question is, I think the academy should take action, because basically, if it doesn't, it's not
Okay.
it's not right. So the same case. So we were having a discussion yesterday on radio, and we just want to share with you. So if you are a victim of, or if you're being exposed to workplace violence, it may not be physical violence. It may be just harassment. It could be bad language. It could be passive aggressive behavior, against you, or even sabotage or whatever it is. If you feel that it is not correct and it's causing an unhealthy workplace environment, we just want to advise you, talk to HR. Unless HR is responsible for that, then you escalate to the boss. And unless the boss is responsible for that as well, then...
Wait. Okay. Hang on. Time out. We don't know the context. Come and talk to us first.
Yes.
Have a chat with us and let us give you some perspective on whether or not there are mitigating circumstances. Maybe there's some shift in your frame of reference.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something else you can do. Maybe there's someone else you can also pull in and into your confidence and get some advice. The world of work is very complex, so don't just rush and say I'm not happy with the way that person dressed. I mean, the perfume this person is wearing is overwhelming my senses. I will go and report to HR. No, don't do that.
No, talk to us. And so, in other words, what Yen is saying, don't listen to Adrian. Okay, listen to her. She's the rational one. Okay, and before you rush out and do a Tonya Harding on a person, if you do not know who Tonya Harding is, go Google her up. Okay, before, don't do a Tonya Harding on anybody. Don't do a Will Smith on anyone. Okay, just talk to us first if you have any questions.
Whatever happens, violence is not the answer.
It's never the answer. So, having said that, let's hop on to today's topic, and I think it's going to be quite interesting because a lot of our clients have been asking about interview process, and the truth is, interviews can be very long.
Yes, and it's not within your control, because the people that make those decisions have probably got some idea in their mind about what they're looking for, who they prefer, and what they need to get done. So it is not within your control, but you can play the game to the best of your ability. Bring all your arsenal. Bring every game.
Yeah. It's an art. Interviewing is an art, but even on the interviewer side, sometimes the process can be very long. I just spoke to a client yesterday, and he told me that he landed the job after 12 rounds of interviews. Okay, 12 rounds of interviews, and I had another client yesterday I was talking to who told me that they even put him through an interview with the intern.
Why?
Yeah, why? I have no idea.
Oh, it was a informal session?
No idea. I don't know. I'm a bit snobby, but if you make me interview at my level, if I'm a senior guy, maybe you get interviewed by the intern, I will decline straight away and walk off the stage.
That's your ego talking.
Yeah, it's my ego talking. No, but I don't know. Would you?
It depends on the situation.
At the senior level, have an intern. It's not a get to know you interview. It is an intern's asking you. So, and he's filling up forms. So, how many years have you been here?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's excessive. That's excessive.
Yeah.
That is excessive.
I would ask, why are you sending intern? It's. I would be insulted. Sorry, it's just my ego talking.
But I guess it depends on the context. If it was a get to know the team, have a subordinate.
If it's the conversation with the intern is fine.
Yeah.
But to be interviewed by the intern.
That's a bit much.
That's a bit much. What's next? The coffee lady. What's your favorite coffee? What? Not. Goodness, I think I would draw the line at intern. Janitor, yes, definitely not. But
no.
It's crazy. It's just not a matter of whom you're interviewing with, but it's just irrelevant. And I would be insulted because my 1 hour of my time is worth a lot of money, and you want to put an intern up. I don't know. I would think it's a bit. But
question.
Yeah.
Did the guy get the job?
No, he dropped it after the
intern.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was headhunting, my track record for a candidate interview was 13 rounds, and he didn't get the job. 13, not rounds per se, because a lot of these meetings are repeat meetings. That means had conversations with a couple of individuals twice, and then he had a couple of coffees. But each of these sessions were I guess evaluative in that sense, meaning that he was being evaluated.
If I were to be interviewed 13 times and not land a job,
something's wrong.
No, I will send him the invoice for my time. 13 hours of aggravation. I'll send him an invoice and say, no, here's my time, and my billable hours is $400 an hour.
My personal track record, I went for 11 conversations before taking the job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the fastest was 3. A candidate had 3 interviews and secured an offer and took the job.
I went for an interview with one of the top 5 global search firms. And they made me go through 9 rounds, supposedly. After the 4th round, I just dropped off. I said, no, thank you. Because at each level I was meeting, right, the people I met were increasingly less impressive. So I basically said, if this is the pattern, I don't think I want to work here. So sometimes having more interviews is actually a good thing because you get to feel...
Actually, no, hang on. Having more interviews is a good thing. It definitely is. In fact, if you have only got 2 interviews and they offer you the job, ask to meet more people. It's a good way to get a sense of the organization and to listen to what other people are saying and potentially what they're not saying. You can tell when you meet different individuals over a course of different meetings, whether or not they share the same values or whether they're aligned with corporate objectives. It's very interesting. And you can almost sense the dynamics between the individuals and potentially use it to your advantage.
It's true. We got cues.
But we've got a slide on that later about reading the room.
Yeah, correct. I was going to ask you, remind me later, because there was a question that was asked of me early this week by a client who was asked to prepare a very in-depth business case, and he didn't get the job. And the question he asked me was it a waste of time? Are they just fishing for info? Let's talk about that later, okay?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Because sometimes they do ask for a business case. And how in-depth you want to go. If we have time, we'll talk about it. So stick to the end of the show when we will talk about it, okay? So what we're trying to say is this. The interview process can be a very long and tedious one. And sometimes you just have to be patient. And as it progresses, sometimes it's not their fault, the interviewer's fault, the organization's fault, because the people are just hard to get. Sometimes if you're like AWS, you're famous, they've got 7 rounds, 9 rounds, where you meet everybody. No interns involved, I heard. Okay, but that's a good way for you to get a feel of the team as well, and for the team to get a feel of you. They have their values they want to assess you on, so that's okay. So be mentally prepared. But it's frustrating, isn't it, when you jump through all the hoops, and finally, when you get to the last interview and you're the final 2.
Or 3. And
then you don't get
happens.
it. Yeah. So that's why we wanted to talk about that today. If you look at it, the objectives of any interview, okay, is threefold. You want to run through this? This is your favorite slide.
Not really. This is very basic. There's obviously more than that. But in general, when they're interviewing a candidate, they're interviewing for the person's abilities, the person's motivation, and whether or not that person's going to fit within the team or the organization. But that's very basic. And underlying that, there are a whole host of other objectives and agendas that is not visible. But just a quick one to give you some idea of some of the questions that might be involved in each of these elements. If they were to assess your ability, they'd probably be asking you, tell me a little bit more about this project that you've written here on your resume, for instance. And that's a typical ability question. They might ask you about motivation, what brings you here, what you like about us. The fit questions tend to be a little bit more obscure. They might just throw something out and say, tell me about a time you've had to manage 2 conflicting priorities at the same time. And that could be an obscure question, but potentially loaded. and then you might have to be, I know you're explaining about a time when you've had to manage 2 or 3 priorities and how you handled it, but at the back of your mind, you're thinking,
Okay. No, imagine getting a question like, how do you handle when 2 bosses of your your matrix do not agree with each other all the time?
That is a very valid question.
Yeah, I know, but the question that they're asking that is like, is that a signal?
If you've got your active listening ear, if you've got your switch turned on, you're going,
Why is that so, right?
No.
So you can actually ask, is that after you answer the question, is that a concern? Is that something I have to worry about? It's like,
yeah, you can ask that.
I have to worry about.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Then okay. Thanks for warning me. It's fair, right? So yeah. So
it's a way that you can also assess whether or not you would fit or you are prepared to handle some of these things. But pay attention to the questions they ask, because it is a window to the agenda that they have not yet shown you.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting because when you look at things, sometimes the interview questions may not seem logical. Okay, especially when they ask you questions like, if you were the Minister for Tourism, what would you do? Kind of questions. How many trees were there on the way here? Or how many windows? Are there more windows or wheels in the world? Kind of silly type of questions. Sometimes they just want to play with you, but sometimes they want to see that there's a logic behind it. So stay cool during interviews. Okay, a lot of preparation work is done. Our clients who come through our career partner programs have a very high chance of landing their roles because we prep them very thoroughly in terms of interviews. Okay, especially if you're senior, you're not going to get many of these opportunities to interview for roles. So we want to be here to ensure that each chance you get, each opportunity you get, you do your best and you increase your chances. So these are the three objectives. And the whole idea for the interview is not just to assess whether or not you have these three things: the ability, the fit, and the motivation to join them. But they also want to look for red flags. And it's during the conversation that, in fact, I would say some interviewers, some recruiters are more looking for red flags than looking for capabilities. Because if your reputation precedes you, and I know that you can do the job already, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen your CV, it's sterling. Okay,
Yeah.
there's nothing spotless.
Yeah.
So the interview sometimes could be just, I want to see if there's any red flags.
Yeah.
And depending on who's interviewing you, sometimes if the screening stage, okay, which this is I'm going to address later on, they want to look for red flags, small red flags or big red flags, okay. And the red flag doesn't really mean that they were not going to talk to you about, or they're not going to consider you.
Yeah.
Sometimes the red flag is just about us wanting, the interviewers wanting to bring it up for a discussion to see whether or not it could be an issue. So if you raise any red flags during those days, during those times, it's noted. And that could be one of the reasons why you're not closing the interview.
Or you don't even realize that you're waving the red flag in front of them.
Yeah, correct.
You got to look out for that. And sometimes with those situations, having an external person give you that feedback is going to help you a lot.
True. So if you look at things, okay, let's look at it. Now, here are some possible reasons that you're not closing your interviews, you're not landing a job, even though you reached all the way to the end. Okay? And these are the reasons that are what we define as out of your control. You can't help it. Okay, it is what it is, and there's nothing you can do short of what can you do? Tonya Harding, the hiring manager.
I have some ideas, but I will keep it for our clients. Okay, yeah. It's for our clients.
Yes,
if an organization goes still, we still have some strategies.
Yes.
But I'm gonna keep that.
For our paying clients. So anyway, and our clients will know because we've shared with them before. But one of the possible reasons why you're not getting the job, even though they seem to like you, everyone's so warm and fuzzy and friendly, you're just a benchmark candidate.
Yeah.
And what I mean by a benchmark candidate is they may not even have the position that's fully open. Okay, say I have a sales, say I already got a sales director role, but I'm wondering, what if I open up a senior sales director role? Is there someone in the market who could possibly be good for it? If there is, then maybe I will start looking for the search. I'll start doing a broad search. And then what HR will do is HR or the headhunter might just go in and look for 3 or 4 different candidates off LinkedIn, no cost, nothing at all to them. And they bring them in for the interview just to talk. And they talk, and they talk, and they talk, and they land. But the job isn't even real. So sometimes you might just be a candidate they want to benchmark a possible role against, or they have an internal candidate. They have someone in mind already who's really going to be there already. Okay, and they want to see compared to the external market, is this guy? Does this person match with what's out there, the talent pool out there?
Yeah. When they use benchmark candidates, it's more like a data point, if anything.
Yes.
To go see if there's anything else out
Yeah.
there in the market, but they've already got someone that they prefer.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like,
This is out of your control.
Yeah.
It's out of your control.
It's like what I do when I want to buy a vacuum cleaner, right?
Mm.
I go to Harvey Norman. I see the vacuum cleaners. I feel I touch. I like the vacuum cleaner I get. And then I say thanks to the salesman after wasting half an hour of his time. Then I go to Lazada or Shopee and see if it's cheaper. Oh wow, it's $3 cheaper. I'm gonna get it.
At least you wait until you've exited. I do it right now.
Oh no!
Alvin and I just did that 3 days ago. We were we were looking. We saw a steamer, clothes steamer, and Alvin went online. And then we saw that the pricing was about there, so we bought it. But we went online to buy the kettle instead.
So it's not your fault, you see. You're just benchmarking, you see. So it is what it is. If they're benchmarking, and the thing is, sometimes you can't tell whether it's benchmarked.
Yeah.
Until 4 months down the road, when you talk to them again, I say, "Here's the position been filled." No, it hasn't been filled.
Yeah. Then it was a phantom role.
Yeah, and
Just,
unfortunately, people do that.
Yeah.
One caveat also, sometimes especially if you're in a sales role or if you're interviewing with a competitor, okay, I have heard, I don't know about you, but I have heard of some rather unscrupulous companies, managers, okay, they pretend to interview you for a role, really nice, juicy role, throw nice money figures at you, but they just want to fish for information, data, okay. I had one of those experiences as well. One of the top 5 search firms, okay, approached me when I was headhunting and asked me to surrender my entire customer list to them. Okay, and I said, good try. No, not gonna happen. Okay, so it could be that as well. So I do exercise caution if you're facing such a situation. Okay, now sometimes there's an internal candidate. What we mean is an internally referred candidate,
or an internal candidate that is about to be promoted into that function. So they already have their preferred choice. In the beauty parade, certain beauty queens already have the sponsors, and they will definitely get to the final stages. So it's the same difference, meaning that the organization's already made a decision to potentially promote, unless there is something that's so amazing that they cannot decline an external candidate. So the internal candidate almost always wins. Almost always.
Unfairly so. Okay.
Yeah, because they already know the culture.
But
they know what buttons to push.
But there are ways you can handle that if you really have a position that you want. Okay. Come talk to us as well, because being seasoned headhunters, we've played the game before as well. Okay. And sometimes it's your industry reputation.
Yes. Do you know what your reputation is? If you're go talk to a few of your network and ask around and get some feedback on what people might be saying about you. That's a good way to get a sense of whether or not there's any blind spots that you should be looking out for.
And sometimes, what we've seen is, for myself, especially when I was headhunting, I would present a candidate and the client will look at this profile and go, I know this guy. He's very aggressive. He's very rude to his staff. I wouldn't want him on my team.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may go all the way to the end, and when they do reference checks or informal reference checks, you might be getting bad feedback.
Yeah.
And that could be ruining or torpedoing your chances as well.
Yeah. Again, it's not really within your control, isn't it? Because in our professional career, we'll have altercations, we'll have conflict. We will have people that love you, and we will have people that don't. And it is the way it is. As long as you hopefully stay professional.
It is.
And I think that's all you can do. So yeah.
So if it's your reputation, then that's it. But sometimes it could be someone on the inside blocking you.
And you may not know who your enemy is. As with any major decision, there's not just one person who decides hire or not. It's a whole committee.
Yeah.
Right. The CEO, the salesperson, the people from ops, the people from finance, and the people from HR will all have a say. So you need to make sure that they all like you.
So that's why clients who come through our interview workshops, and our career partner programs, they are taught to be able to identify the types of interviewers. In fact, we kind of had one session 3-4 months back on our career success show on Friday about the 5 types of interviewers. You need to be able to spot who's the sponsor, who is the influencer, who's the buyer, who's the decision maker, and there are cues involved. Okay, so once you can figure out who, you can cater your pitch to each of them. So,
but to simplify things, just be everyone's best bud.
Yeah, correct. You can't please everyone all the time.
Good. You can try.
You can try.
We have strategies for that.
You have strategies for that. Okay. So here are 3 possible reasons we want to just bounce off you. That could be why you're not landing that job at the last minute. Okay, number 1 is it could be you're just not interviewing correctly.
Okay. That means they like you. You have all the necessary competencies. Something is not right, and they can't put a finger on it. They're just not comfortable. And if they get that sense and they listen to their gut, then it's very high chance you're not going to get you're not going to convert that into an offer.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing also is sometimes you are just not presenting the right pitch, or you're presenting the right positioning for yourself. Okay. It's a whole topic in itself. Maybe we can talk for it another time, but our clients, we sit down with them and we help craft out their positioning. Sometimes you're just not positioning yourself correctly. Okay, and even though you might seem ideal for the role. Let me give you an example. You could be interviewing for a sales director role, and you go there and you start selling yourself. I'm the top salesman. I've 5x business sales revenues before. I can drive your revenues. I can do all sorts of wonderful things to drive your revenue up so that we can have a huge sales figure bump. But what maybe you don't realize is that their problem isn't sales. Their problem is fulfillment. You see, they need someone who can do to manage, or maybe their margins are not good. Maybe they're looking at something else that's not just a sales number, because everyone's rushing to buy their products. You see, like the Omega Swatch watch. Okay, everyone wants to rush to buy, and even though it's the color comes off yeah, I don't know, I saw it, but everyone's rushing for it. So it could be that it's not a sales issue. It could be a fulfillment issue. It could be a customer satisfaction issue. It could be a product issue. But you're going, so maybe you're not interviewing correctly.
Or maybe you are mispositioning because you're over-focusing on sales, but the organization needs someone to penetrate new markets and do emerging markets instead. Different. So, or it's a different context. So you've got to consider all the different elements of what it means to position yourself.
And there are ways to pick up the cues during the interview process itself. Okay, by asking the right questions, by uncovering what their challenges are. And that's really important as part of the process. So it's all part of the interview strategy, okay, which we run through with all our clients. So
it's a 4-hour workshop.
4-hour workshop, yeah, and conducted by her, and it's such a information bomb. It's just so much to take. Okay, but if you're not closing the roles, do consider the possibility that you're just not interviewing correctly, and especially if you've been in a job for 7 years, 8 years, and before that. No,
20 years.
Which means you've not interviewed for like 20 years. You've interviewed more people than you've been interviewed, right?
Yes. That happens to a lot of individuals.
A lot of
and then
clients,
when they find that they have crossed over to the other side of the table, and then they just get all weird.
Yeah.
And they feel very awkward because now they're thinking, gee, I'm being interviewed.
Yeah.
And then they get all awkward about it.
Especially
when it's actually no different because it's just another conversation.
Especially if they're being interviewed by the intern.
Or they're thinking, because they're using their own frame of reference, when they conduct the interviews, they have this frame of reference. And so when they cross over to the other side, they don't like the way they are potentially thinking about themselves. It's a whole psychological can of worms.
Yeah, it is.
But we work with our clients through that.
No, we do. And so these are all strategies that, if honestly, if you're interviewing as a fresh graduate going into a fresh entry-level job, then you don't need to do too much interview training.
You just have to be who you are and be authentic, and I think you're going to be okay. And then in your 20s, it's okay too. It gets a little bit tricky when you're in your 40s.
It does. Are there any questions that we have?
We have one, and there's a question about an interview type. So I have an interview with role play and a few difficult politician type character. I wonder what this is for. Gosh, I could have a litany of interview nightmare stories of all the bad things that can happen. And one of the most challenging ones, and very extreme, is a case study that they ask you to do But on top of that case study, which is a typical Harvard Business Review complex case with a model, integration of another business unit into your big mothership type thing, and then they insist that you do a role play. So you don't just do the analysis. Having done the analysis, you have to do a role play and get into character and do a presentation, whiteboard, 5-slide deck. In the meantime, there are 5 types sitting at the other end of the conference table, giving you this look and
I'd rather be somewhere else.
And I heard this story. This is a real story, guys. Somebody at the end of the table went, I represent the union and I don't agree, so I'm staging a walkout. And they all walked out. And then I asked my candidate, what did you do? He went, well, I didn't know if I should break character, if I should just go, hey guys, what's going on?
I come and go home.
No, he waited and they all came back in. They liked him. They just didn't like the way he was analyzing.
So did he get a job?
He got offered, but he turned it down.
Why? Because I don't like your interviewing style.
No, because I had a better role for him. So this was a story of a candidate that was trying to place, but it's a very extreme case. So in answer to the question on LinkedIn, when they want to put you into those tough situations, they are looking at a variety of things. I mean, when you do a case study presentation, it's your thought process that they want to see. They want to see whether or not you've got the intellectual bandwidth to manage the complexity. They want to know whether or not you can are calm under fire and how you present yourself. Maybe they're looking at your executive presence. I suspect in this case, they're probably looking at how you handle that sort of adversarial, potentially microaggression end of the table, because you're going to be doing a lot of boardroom presentations maybe. So it's not a bad thing. Just do it and yeah, it's okay.
But how long was your longest interview you ever attended for yourself?
For myself, I think it was easily 2 hours, but we had so much fun because it was a good conversation and we had coffee, and so you're just talking through some of the challenges involved in the role, some ideas. It was all right. No, I guess conversations don't scare me, I suppose.
Yeah. When I first graduated from university and I went to Shell, Shell is a famous assessment center, and it was a full day interview which I went, and it started from 8:30 in the morning and lasted all the way to 7 at night.
What did they make you do? Interviews and then role play and
role
then
play scenarios,
and then they were observing you to see
lunch.
If you put your coffee cup properly or if you wash the cup after.
Lunch, eating food, you go to I'm so dainty. Watch me use the right spoon for the right dish. So best behavior,
We've heard other horror stories, right? Of interviewers observing candidates' behavior in the pantry. And not necessarily how they answered the questions, because they want to see whether or not you exhibit the behaviors that would represent the values of the organization.
Whether you open the fridge, hey, this ice cream looks good. Oh, nobody's ice cream.
It's like, whoa, beer! Oh, it's 10 in the morning. But they want to see if you made a mess and whether you clean up after yourself.
You're always being observed, so you never know. But back to where we are. So sometimes you're not interviewing correctly, okay, and that could be a very possible situation, okay. Now, the other area which is you didn't convince everyone. Like what Ian said, it is a panel. It's a group decision. So
that it's not just one person, although that the hiring manager could be absolutely sold and delighted and he wants you and his team, but then he's got to manage his stakeholders, right? So there's going to be the CFO and the head of ops, head of marketing, the head of inside sales, the head of APAC for channels, and there's a head of a bunch of heads from all the business units who have to collaborate with you. And if one person says, no, I don't want to work with this person because my customer said something, that's it. End of story. That's a big no-no, and it's going to be hard for even your hiring leader, if he's really convinced to have you on his team, because if his key internal buyer or his key stakeholder isn't convinced, then that it's very unlikely that you're going to get the job. Yeah,
that's very true. And sometimes all it takes is just one person to not like your face.
It's almost like everyone's going to give a thumbs up, and then one person goes, and then one goes, for me, no, and then
It depends on who's saying the no lah. If it's an intern, then
correct.
But if
it depends on who's saying the no.
if it's the decision maker, or then you go, okay, yeah. So once again, you could be torpedoed from the side if you don't know who hit you, right? And so that's where you really have to get your interview strategy down, right down to that, because each interview counts. And if you're interviewing with HR, if you're interviewing with the line manager, whether you're interviewing with his boss, or whether you're interviewing with the CEO or the chairman, okay, there are different strategies to deploy. So you have to be very mindful about it. That you have to convince everyone. It's not a majority wins or first past the post kind of decision. Okay, you have to get everyone. So be mindful about that. Be nice to everyone. And that also means, as you're going to the interview, don't fight for the car park lot with anyone in the car park.
Oh yes, yeah, right. I mean, can you imagine if you went down the wrong side of the road and you know that, and then you take the car park that actually belongs to the other car, and then you show a finger, and then you go up the elevator, and then you realize that the interviewer
so that's
is
a CEO.
the person
That's a
you,
CEO.
or the person you stole the lot from.
Yeah.
Or you're in a hurry because you're late and you press the
close
button on the
true
lift.
Story. Yeah, it's happened before. Okay, it's happened before. So you never know. Okay, so be nice all the way. Just be careful, man.
Yeah.
And one more thing also, the last possible reason is that you were not reading the room correctly. Okay, sometimes they're asking you for a question and you go off tangent and you answer in another different line. Or if you're interviewing and something you mentioned raises an eyebrow. You're like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to address it. So interviews are not just about you talking and downloading how great I am, what I've done. Okay, sometimes you're just there. They know already. Otherwise, they won't be calling you for that. Sometimes you raise a red flag and they want to ask you about it. Okay, and then you're unable to answer it. And then immediately, because you are not reading the room correctly, okay, you might end up alienating your interviewers. So you have to be able to read the room.
Especially when you're reading the room, say you get a sense that everyone there's a good old boy, and they're all laughing, with the butt slapping, or they're having those jokes, and then you play along. But that's not right for you to do, but it's okay for them. I don't know.
So interestingly,
stay away from politics, religion, anything divisive.
So we had this case which we wrote in our book, The Great Career Paradox, which is going to be published in the third quarter of this year. Watch out for it, okay? The Great Career Paradox. We gave an example of an individual who could never close at the last minute. And the reason why he couldn't close was because he's quite a senior executive. True story, yeah? And whenever he interviewed with everyone else along the HR manager, HR director, he felt he was very, very, a bit uncomfortable. So what he would do is he would put on his best face and very formal and everything. But when it comes to the final round with the CEO or whom he viewed as a peer, go relax, sit back and talking too charming to the guy because hey, I'm senior in management, you're senior management. It became too casual, and the feedback he got was, you're just too casual. Once again, you're not reading the room correctly. So maintain that consistent strategy through. And sometimes you don't know what the real reason is until you come to us and we do a role play with you and we're able to diagnose. Sometimes even without a role play, even just talking to you for the first 3 minutes, we can spot 4 things wrong that you're doing already. Okay, and how to fine tune it. Yan's famous story is the body language one. So, okay, and these are things we spot because we have been doing headhunting and career coaching collectively for more than 40 years already. Okay, so
was it the guy who was?
Yeah, that's the one.
Being really comfortable.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So sometimes some things, cues like that, you don't realize it, but when you have several pair of eyes coming in, so sometimes you really need to figure out how to read the room. Are there any other questions on so far? I'm just curious.
So far, no. Looks like everyone seems okay. Unless there are some scary interview questions.
So what can you do about it? What can you do about it? Okay. Number one, what you can do about it is this.
You can never underestimate the importance of research.
Yeah.
And I tell everyone, regardless of what you do, you prepare your whole pitch and all that, but you don't do enough homework, your pitch will be off target. If you don't do enough research, you won't know what questions to ask. If you don't know enough about their market, you're not demonstrating enough interest. So you have to do your homework.
Yeah, and homework about what?
It's very extensive.
Everything.
If I start nagging now, it'll be 4 hours. It's very extensive.
Yeah.
There's no end to the homework.
There's no end, yeah.
And by homework, we're not talking secondary research. Don't just go online and read the website. It's not good enough. Yeah, you have to network as well.
Do your homework, go there prepared, impress them. Okay. The whole idea is it's like the first date. Always impress. Okay?
Yeah, you mean you have to stalk your date first and find out, oh, she likes this flower, she likes that. And then
Yeah, know where
that
she
is
lives,
so creepy.
know what the color of her bed sheets are.
No, that is a
peek through
bit
the window
extreme.
and not that kind of homework. Okay, that's creepy.
No, that's creepy.
The second thing is you have to manage the process well. And when we say manage the process well, what we mean is you really have to be able to take charge of the process. Okay, ask what's the feedback, where are we now? What's the next step?
Yes.
And there are certain questions to ask at different stages. Okay, where you have an idea of whether you're progressing, what the red flags are, and how do you address the red flags. So there are ways to manage the process. And once again, if the role is really important to you, it's very sad to lose it just because you didn't manage the process, or you just say, oh, they'll come back to me when they come back to me. Okay, so circle back to us, drop us an email if you're interviewing for that really big role. Okay, we'll be more than happy to share our proven methods of increasing your chances of landing the role.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to manage the process very, very well. The third thing is also, get help.
Yes, come and talk to us.
Come talk to us. We have this a lot of people who come to us and say that, hey, my final interview is next week. What can you do? And we tell them that it's a process. It takes time, okay, to get your interview techniques and everything fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So get help. I would say get help early. Okay.
It's not just the whole process. It's also how you conduct yourself during that conversation.
Yeah.
So that specific bit, starting it well, that means you need to present a really good first impression. Again, there's strategies to that. You need to showcase your abilities, your thought process, bring your A game. And no one is on pet peeve when people say, "Oh, it's okay lah, just be yourself." No.
You don't want me to be myself and interview? No
you
way.
don't want
okay,
to be your shoes off self. You want to be your best self, your professional
you don't want
self.
me to be myself.
We all wear different hats.
yeah.
And you want to bring the professional identity, okay? And the last thing I want to say is you want to end the interview well as well. So it's a start, and then you have to also make sure you manage the conversation and end it well. And we'll teach you how. I mean, if you come into our program.
She is the master interview coach. Okay, really, really good. But before we begin, also we want to thank some people. Basically,
yes.
For the coffee, we had good coffee this morning, and
one of our clients landed.
One of our clients landed, and he started a company called the Crew Brew. They do very specially sourced coffee beans, and if you are into the coffee bean, if you are a coffee connoisseur, okay, do feel free to drop by the Crew Brew. Today's show is sponsored by them.
Crew Brew?
It's on the screen right now. You can look at it. Okay, it's called the Crew Brew. There we go. The Crew Brew.
Okay.
Today's show is sponsored by the Crew Brew. So, just drop by, have a look at it, and
because we all need coffee.
Good coffee. Okay, so thanks a lot, success, and congratulations on the job landing and everything. Okay, fantastic. So lovely. So once again, if you look at the summary for today, I mean, if you are interviewing all the way and you are not landing it, or you're not closing it,
or you're not converting, even if it's not just the last, but if you've gone for a lot of first rounds and you're not converting it, and you're not progressing, it's the same as getting it to the last stage and also not converting.
Actually, you're right. Okay, and there are different reasons for it. If you are being called by headhunters for a role and you're not being progressed to meet the client, there are reasons for it. Okay, if you do get referred to the client and you go for the first interview and you don't get called back for the second interview, there are different reasons for it. If you go to the
same reasons.
It could be, but a lot of times it's different. Okay, and then if you're going to the third, fourth round, the final round, you don't get it. So there are various reasons. We need to sit down with you or you need to sit down with us, okay, to talk about it. And if it's bothering you a lot, okay, what did Einstein say? He said that insanity is defined by doing the same thing
and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
It's like watching the movie and you know the ending, but you keep hoping that Kate Winslet will let Leonardo DiCaprio onto the boat, onto the door. You're like, why didn't she move him?
No, Ken, you wait till the DVD comes out for alternate ending, and then you watch alternate ending and pretend it happened. Or you wait for Zack Snyder to release the Snyder Cut, right? So it's not always your fault. So don't blame yourself. But sometimes it is. And if it is your fault, you got to take responsibility and figure out. Okay.
Yeah.
Analyze, strategize, to make sure to understand what went wrong, what happened. Am I going to repeat that? And sometimes if it becomes a pattern, seek a third opinion. And I mean, what do we say? Pattern. If it's like I go for interview, first round cannot get, then you know that something is wrong. There's a pattern. Okay. If what you're doing is resulting in a negative response every time, okay, it's not the interview, it's probably you. If you keep going on a first date, and if your first date always ends up with a police report, it's not the date's problem, okay? It's your problem. So
that's a very extreme example.
It's never happened to me before, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. But something is wrong, okay?
Hey, guys, you see what I have to work with?
Yeah, pity her, right? But you see, something wrong. Okay, so if there's a pattern, then you got to acknowledge it's a pattern.
You got to figure out what's going on and break that pattern.
Okay. Yeah. And why do we see it as a third opinion? Because you can get a second opinion from your friends, your relatives, from YouTube, okay, whatever it is. Go ahead and get it, okay? But if you want to get a professional opinion, come to us. We'll be happy to give you a third opinion, okay, on how you can literally progress your interviews and land a job. Okay, a lot of our clients are landing jobs this month alone. This quarter alone, we've such a huge hit rate. Okay, it's amazing. So come talk to us if you have. In fact, one of the things we always say is that you need to be able to learn how to do the job search, and that's why we have actually created the learn your dream job program, and you can. It's a series of job hunting toolkits. Consisting of, you've got resume templates, we've got action lists, action words for your CVs, we've got job hunt optimizer. This comes up from over 20 years of the work that Yen and I have put together, okay, in terms of job searching methodologies, okay, the best practices. It's an online program where you can sign up, and if you are really frustrated, just come on, learn how to do it. It's an online course with a lot of useful information. We even have a 90-day email program where we're going to send you reminders on what you need to do to land a dream job. And if you scan the code over here, okay, and if you just sign up, and if you use this code now, Dream300, that's $300 off the program. Okay, so that is what we want to share with you today with regards to how to close that final interview, or even interviews in general.
If you have any more complex questions, or you want to reach out to us to talk about other programs, do so. We're at info@careeragility.org. Okay, and you just email us at info@careeragility.org.
So, interesting thing, quick question now is this. Case studies. Should I bother to do a case study or not? If the client is asking me to do a case study, should I bother?
If you don't, you've effectively voted yourself out of the process.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who calls the shots here, right? The company does. And the company says, we want you to jump through this hoop. If you want the job, you need to jump through the hoop. That's it.
So if you've decided to do the case study,
yes. How far should you go?
How detailed are you going to go into?
No, you don't. You are not. It's not important. You're not expected to give information that's not already in the public domain. So you just take whatever's in the public domain, and chances are, if it's something that you are already doing as part of your role or your professional life, this is your domain. So it shouldn't take you too much time to throw something together. If it becomes too difficult for you, then this is not the job for you, because you're not familiar enough with the environment, the domain, the ecosystem to have anything worthy of to say.
Mhm.
So then the whole case study becomes a real burden. It becomes an academic exercise that's going to cost you a grade or two. No. If you're already in the business, chances are it's not going to take you too much time to put together some information that you already know about how big the market is, which markets are a lot more, which product lines are going to be more cash cow, where the ROI is coming from, things like that. So I recommend not putting too much effort into it, but enough to showcase your thought process.
Yeah, a lot of times you just want to see your thought processes.
Correct. I once, and this is something that a lot of candidates have asked me as well. And I had a client, a hiring company, that insisted all the candidates put together a profile and a case study, a business case of sorts, of how, and it was a question, it was like an assignment.
Okay.
This is the product, what would you do? Something like that, but with more detail. And I challenged the hiring leader. I said, why would you put the candidates through this? And his response was, do you honestly think that I already don't have the answers to this? Because I'm running the business and I've already done this. So I just want to, and so
that's a very good point.
He was like, there's nothing you can say that I haven't already thought of.
However, you might. And then if you do, they might hire you on the spot, right?
Or again, it's just to see your logic, your thought process, and whether or not they like the thinking. It's very hard to put a finger on. It's not exactly tangible. It's almost like listening to someone speak and go like, wow. And then listening to someone speak and go, right? So it is what it is.
And the other question is, if the client hasn't asked for a business case, can I present a business case scenario to them?
You could, and that would show initiative.
But provided it's not like 16 or
No,
64 page
excessive.
deck. And
That's
it's
excessive.
Like a wall of words. It's like,
so the what Adrian was saying is a very good strategy for senior level individuals who are going in a position where you have some level of authority. So preparing something to show.
I think it's just a one pager. Okay, don't go into details. One pager. The main idea, which I recommend for our senior clients and senior executives watching the show now, is have a point of view. Have a point of view on the market, on the product, where the market's heading, and even if you think that the client's product is going to be obsolete soon, and what's the latest tech that's going to be replacing it, you can bring it up if you want to. But the big question is, you'll be asking is, if you think our product's dead, why do you want to join us, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to defend all these things. But honestly, if you are a senior executive, like most of our clients are, you know how to present and defend because you're used to it already.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are interviews are more challenging the more senior you get in terms of the strategies involved, in terms of the intricacies and complications. So if you're a senior executive who's not used to interviewing, who's interviewed more people than have been interviewed before, come talk to us. Okay,
Yeah.
We'd love to talk to you on all that.
info@careeragility.org and TGIF.
Yeah. So are there any questions? No questions?
Yes, let's call it a day.
Let's call it a day. And
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah, and one of the things we always say is the weekend's here, the quarter's gone.
Are you going to give homework?
I know, no homework. For the first quarter, no homework. Okay, homework is go play with your kids, go play with your family, go pet your dog, go tend to your garden. I think going off, you know what I heard the best news so far? This month ahead, I think there are like 3 holidays.
No, it's just Good Friday.
Good Friday, May Day.
But May Day is not
then
this
Hari
month.
Raya or next month?
Hello?
I don't know. I lost track.
Hello, it's next Friday. And I'm looking forward to it.
We've got no leave days anyway, so we love our work so much, we work all the time. No, not really.
Slave driver.
I make it work all the time. So anyway, have a great weekend ahead. And once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop us an email at info@careeragility.org. And if you have any thoughts or comments about new topics you want us to talk about, just let us know as well. In the meantime, have a great weekend ahead and take care. Bye.